going on, wrestling fans? It is I, Steve Fall, and welcome to 10 Count. On today's edition, we are going to celebrate a man 25 years in the business. Afa Jr., you might know him as Manu. How are you today?
What's going on, Steve? Thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure.
Of course, so many big things are happening this weekend, but nothing bigger than the Battlefield Pro Wrestling event on Premier streaming platform. I'm pumped. You're pumped. We're all pumped. 25 years of celebrating your career, but plus there are big marquee matches on this event as well. So how did this all come together? Because you're part of one of the most prestigious wrestling families in the entire world, universe, galaxy, wherever you're from. How's
Right.
that? How does that work out for you as a child, growing up in a world where it seems like once you come out of the womb, they're like, here's your boots, here's your knee pads, here's your elbow pads, here's your gear, and now head into that room to learn how to do a back body drop. Like, how is that being part of such a prestigious family?
Man, it's a blessing, honestly. Just to be able to grow up and like every corner you turn, everybody you talk to, you're able to pick their brain for knowledge about the wrestling business and stuff like that. So that in itself has been a huge blessing for me. But it's also been very wild ride too, growing up in the wrestling game. Always having a million wrestlers over and living in the basement and the wrestling rings in the backyard and Luna Vachon and Gangrel living in the basement and all this stuff. It's been quite a journey.
Wow. And that's to me already. You just set the tone for what we're going to be talking about today. You're like, oh yeah, wrestling in the backyard. Gangrel and Luna Vachon just living in our basement.
Yep.
So obviously, as a child, you're at home, maybe come home, do your homework, hang out with friends, and suddenly there are wrestlers chilling out on your couch. So
Yeah.
is this just a normal behavior for you as a child? Are friends trying to come over and like, who's here?
Yeah, for like through my little league days, when we're at that age, when kids are and their imaginations are running wild at that time, that was when all my friends and everything like that was, who's coming over, is Hulk Hogan coming back over and this, that, so that age bracket, growing up, yeah, tons of friends. I had a million friends.
I bet, yeah. Hey guys, want to come over and play PlayStation? Also,
you know
Hulk Hogan might be there playing
Yeah.
PlayStation, or
I
actually, this
just
would
got to
be like
ask
Super
my
Nintendo.
babysitter, you know what I mean? And my babysitter happened to be The Rock, but that wasn't him. He wasn't The Rock yet.
So, as a child, you're being babysat by Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Is this
Oh
correct? Am
yeah.
I now?
Yeah, yeah.
What's that like? What's he going about? Is he giving you juice boxes, good
Uh,
snacks? What like?
uh,
What's
you
this?
know it.
What's this like? Because again, my babysitters were just like old ladies who no
Right.
longer probably on Earth right now. You're Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Like, that's crazy
Right.
talk.
Yeah, so we grew up right down the street from each other. Um when he would babysit me, he was always in high school. So
Okay,
he never wanted to do it. So it wasn't very pleasant. Oh man, I gotta watch my nephew. Like, what the hell?
I
It was
know.
one of those kind of things. So,
On the
but
on the
he
phone
was
with
always
girls.
cool to be around, and and he was just always a pleasure to be around.
Outstanding. Now you mentioned Hulk Hogan off the top. So you got any Hulk Hogan stories as a child chilling out and then just the Hulkster just in your fridge?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. My one birthday party, we were having a cookout in the backyard, and all of a sudden the doorbell rings, and it's Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan, apparently he brought the whole neighborhood because like the whole neighborhood came with Hogan. Once he showed up, the block shut down. Everybody came. It was just like, that was before the internet, before you could tweet that Hogan's here and stuff like that. So word traveled very fast back then.
Wow. Now what year is this?
Oh man, my third or fourth birthday had to be in the 80s. I was born in 84. So yeah, definitely in the 80s.
Wow. So you're like peak Hulk Hogan, body slamming Andre
Yeah.
and you're the whole neighborhood. It is interesting because you're right. If the internet did exist the way it does today, it would be one, me take a picture, click, and then post it on Twitter. He's on, Brook Street Road on the
Oh
corner
yeah.
of this, whatever, and then everyone would have been there. In today's world, Taylor Swift walks down the street, someone takes a picture, suddenly there's a swarm of a million
Hmm.
people because, there she is. But the fact that your childhood is just like a circus, that's what it
It
sounds
truly
like to
is.
me.
Yeah, no, it was all over the place. It really was. Just with my dad being who he is and like in the training business, he was training a lot of these guys Even like Batista and all these guys, they all came through and started in wrestling with my dad at his camp, and so it was. I've always been around these guys, all kinds of people, all kinds of Hall of Famers, all kinds of champions. So man, I say this, it's going to be the theme of my episode. Man, it's a blessing.
Yeah, we'll start with the blessing, then there's the curse part of probably this as well, because I imagine that there's pressure on you to achieve exactly what people before you did. They expect you to do
Mhm,
as great as, say, your father or your
mhm,
cousins or your uncles or your, everybody, grandmother, dog walkers, everyone probably is someone in your family famous. But yet, is
right.
there extra pressure on you? Because there could be two ways of thought. One is, oh, I'm part of this family, everything's guaranteed, I'm good. And then there's the other half where like, oh, people are going to push me harder because they know where I come from.
Right. Yeah, no, there is a lot of pressure. For me, the pressure has always been to kind of like live up to the family standard.
Yeah.
We've established to be very respected in the business. I just want to continue to carry that legacy on. I don't want to tarnish our family name in any way. Like I want to preserve the business. I want to leave the business better than the way I found it. So it's just everything about our family is legacy and leaving it, better for the next generation.
Well, it seems like even now, today's world, if no one knew everyone was related, they do now because of the Bloodline storyline
Hmm.
that's happening in the WWE right now, 3 years strong. And that has garnered WWE record gates,
Hmm.
merchandise sales, ratings. And the fact that
Hmm.
the Bloodline is continuing on, but yet it seems to be cracking a little bit. What have you been thinking about this Bloodline storyline? Because you see it, and everyone knows that there's so many other people who could jump on in, like yourself, to fit, team. We thought at one point Team Uso versus Team Roman and Solo. Now it could be
Yep.
joining Jay or just joining Jimmy or Solo or Roman. Like, where are you on that? Like, how do you feel seeing this? Because you know the backstory of family, but yet here it is on TV.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you really think about it, we've always been there. Like we've always had the bloodline back when it was Yoko and the Head Shrinkers,
Mhm.
like there's always been a Samoan on top. Like in wrestling's peak and its money making, like we've had The Rock, we've had Roman. You know what I mean? Like we've always kind of been in that spotlight. But for it to be like focused, now everybody realizes it. Like, man, this family is crazy. Like, and it's we all are. It's we come from a very close family. I still play games with with Roman and the Usos and stuff like that. Like we still communicate. Like we're all very close. While I'm still talking to Lance while he's in Japan and stuff like that. We're very close. All
Yeah.
of us cousins are all very close. So it's just to see the wrestling world have the spotlight on it like that. It's awesome. It reminds me of back when The Rock was on top. And it's great, man. It's great.
And now, has there been discussion of you getting in there, getting dirty, joining a team, or Jay, or a Jimmy, or a Solo, or a Roman? Because I got to tell you, there's so many of you that it could be easily each member has a gang.
Right. Yeah. No, it could easily happen. I could easily join, Roman. I could easily join the Usos. I could easily join Cody. I mean, there's plenty of ways you could introduce me back into TV. So, anything could happen in the World Wrestling Federation. I say that all the time, and I always say that. That's my thing, and I feel that to be true.
A classic quote from the 80s and early 90s. Anything can
That's right.
happen here in the World Wrestling Federation. It's true. It's
It
true.
is.
So
It's true.
you just gave us the headline that it could happen. That
Hey,
it
anything
could
could happen.
happen. Yeah, anything could happen. The fact that you have so many members of the family, though. Um, let's though move on to something, because again, August 27th on Sunday, we have this
Mhm,
huge event of the company that you are the owner of. Battlefield Pro Wrestling presents Out of Time.
mhm.
People like Gene Snitsky. Hopefully he's not kicking babies in the crowd though this time around. Brian Kendrick, Casey Namara. There are so many talented people on this card, and it's gonna be on Premiere. And I love Premiere streaming platform because it has, well, the network, because it has so many things for everybody. You want interviews? There they are. You want wrestlers podcasts? There it is. You want wrestling? So how does this all come together? Because now you're on the network.
Mhm.
You have your brand. Like, this event, how pumped are you for this?
And this event is huge for me. We're celebrating my 25-year in-ring career at this event. It just so happens that it falls one day short. So August 28th would be my actual anniversary, my 25th year anniversary. So the 27th, it doesn't get any closer than that. Nobody runs shows on Mondays aside from Raw. So
Yeah.
this was a perfect time to celebrate. And it's just all my friends, all my family. We got a lot of video submissions from a lot of my old friends and stuff like that that couldn't be here. And it's just going to be a great time just to celebrate and be out there with all my friends and family and fans. And um, just to say that, man, who could say that they wrestled for 25 years active? That's an accomplishment that I'm very proud of. And I don't want to say I'm going 25 more because I'm not, but we'll see how long I go more than this. But it's been quite the journey, and I loved every second of it.
I know. My first introduction to you was, WWE, when you were
Mhm.
Manu. And obviously your name, Afa Jr., goes with the family.
Right.
Where does the idea of not having that name presented on television, a different name, Manu?
Man, I feel like that happened the night I debuted. I,
Oh,
I was I was Afa all the way through. The entire time I was signed through developmental, all the way through I was Afa. I was Afa Jr. or Afa or the Samoan Storm. I was
yeah,
always a variation of Afa. Even when I debuted in like at Unforgiven, I had Afa Jr. tights on, like gear. So I've always been Afa. So I feel like that was a game time decision made by the powers to be. So that's where that came from. But yeah, I've always been Alpha all the way through. So even when I debuted as Manu, as the mystery man, the guy with the big afro and the green tights, I debuted as Alpha Junior because I had Alpha Junior's tights on.
wow. So did you ever ask anyone of why are we changing my name?
Um, Above my pay grade. When you get there and you get the call, you're not going to question anything.
Right.
I was in the developmental system for a while now. I've been wrestling over 10 years at that time. I was just anxious and grateful to be there, to have the opportunity to be there. Hell, you could have called me Mickey Mouse for all I cared. I would have taken it and run with it.
Of course. And it's so weird that some people, for instance, when you showed up, you're showing up helping Randy Orton and joining Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase,
Hmm.
i- legacy. This is Randy
Yeah.
Orton's stable at the time, but yet there are people like, who the hell is Michael McGillicuddy? Well, that would be Mr. Perfect Son, Joe
Yeah.
Hennig. It's so bizarre to me where sometimes they will hit you over the head that this person is relative, is very famous. Charlotte Flair, perfect example.
Right.
But then other people, like yourself, it's like we want to acknowledge that you're a second generation superstar but yet we're not going to really hit you over the head with it. We're going to mention it because that's what Legacy was. Legacy
Right.
was a group of people who had famous parents or famous relatives, and we're all going to come together as a group and become something new. And I get
Hmm.
that. But changing your name for no apparent
Yeah.
reason to me is very bizarre.
And I was the odd man out. Everybody else kept their name. Cody kept his.
Yeah.
Ted kept his. Randy kept his. Well, but hey, man, it's what they wanted, so that's what they got.
Hey, when you get the paycheck and your boss says your name is now Manu, you're like, well, I guess my name is Manu now. Thanks for the money.
That's right. But
Uh,
push come to shove, a lot of people still know me as Alpha Junior. As great as Manu was, and that run was, and the time spent there. I've done a lot outside of Manu for outside of that little 1 year run in the WWE. And I get a lot of acknowledgement now, as more so as Alpha Junior than Manu. I feel like Manu is kind of getting forgotten about.
I'll never
But
forget Manu. Manu for life.
but Alpha Junior is still around, and I think and that I'm proud about. Is to be able to have a name, that's up there and equal with something pushed at a national level and international level like that. Um, on my own is I'm proud of.
Well, because even at one point you had, Deuce and Domino, and yeah, off the top of my head, I can't
Tim
remember.
Snuka,
Yeah, Sim Snuka. But you're
yeah.
like, so we're
At least he got Snuka.
he did eventually get it. Eventually, he did get it. I know. I was just gonna bring
You
that up.
know?
Like first, you're like, oh, okay, so you're in Greece. We're gonna do Greece stuff. Okay, there's cherry. All right, we're on roller skates. We're okay. I get this. I get this. Oh wait, he's not a greaser. He's not from the other side of the tracks. He
Hmm.
is a he's a snooker, and now he
Yeah.
gets his last name. But there you are, still as Manu. Like to me, it was very crazy. Obviously, you're in the system, you're in the bubble. You're saying 10 years in the business. Suddenly, they bring you up, and you're like, all right, I'm on new. Like
I
it.
think that's something we have to ask Freddie Prince about because he was one of the writers up there when I was there. So
Oh, really?
maybe we got to get him on the call and ask him
I was gonna say
direct.
he definitely, I believe, has invested a large sum of money into premier streaming
Oh yeah,
networks. So he's got his hands in this. So at
that's
some
right.
point, this might hit his table or his desk or his laptop or whatever, and we're maybe get down to it because I really am very curious why some people get to keep their hey, this is my father, Dusty Rhodes, Cody Rhodes, and some
Mhm.
people, Michael McGillicuddy, and yourself
I
are
think I
left
think the
out.
thought process was back to the 90s. I think the thought process was Samu, Fatu, Manu kind of just fit that element. We were just in the wrong time. It was just a different era
True.
and it kind of didn't work.
And so you have two other brothers, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And when I discovered that Samu, if I'm correct, is your
Yeah.
brother,
That's right.
which to me is mind boggling because it feels like your age shouldn't be even close to each other. And it really,
Right.
you're off by what, a decade, right?
Yeah, we're off by quite a while,
Yeah.
you
And,
know,
and, and so when I'm
almost 20
watching,
years.
yeah, a couple of decades then, because you see the
He's
head
old enough to be my
shrinkers.
pops.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When you see that, when you see the legacy of your family and the distance between and brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles, you're like, no wonder everyone knows his families because you said your brother's like 20 years older than you, and
Hmm.
yet here you are, 25 in the business. I'm guessing when you're a child, you see your brother as the head shrinkers on TV with along with Fatu, the Usos' father.
Yep.
Yeah, I need like a freaking tree out here. Like, all right, here's the family tree. This person's this
Yeah, it's a big
person.
one.
Big one. But like, how does that feel? Like you must have been younger watching your older brother on TV. And what are you
Oh yeah.
thinking? Like I'm thinking,
So
you think
back
I want to do
back
this?
when I was growing up, it was always me, the Usos, and Roman watching them. Watching Yokozuna and the Head Shrinkers, and even after the Head Shrinkers, we were all watching Rikishi win the first singles titles. You know what I mean? Like the Intercontinental title was big for us because everybody knew he was Samoan versus Yoko winning it, where everyone thought he was Japanese. So it
Yeah.
was a big deal. It was a big deal for us growing up, watching those moments unravel. So it was awesome. It was awesome. But always it would always turn into me and Roman versus the Usos, always into a big wrestling match, always watching wrestling. And those were the teams growing up. It was me and Joe versus the twins.
So you just spoiled that you're enjoying Roman Reigns. Boom, gotcha.
I didn't spoil nothing.
Oh man, I'm waiting for it. When this airs, everyone will be like, yeah, he's gonna do it.
Right?
That'd be awesome. I think that'd be great. The fact that you're just people see like he was the big dog, and then he had fake blue contacts, and everyone was booing the crap out of him for years. The hatred was building and
Mhm.
building, and out of nowhere, everyone loves him now. What a strange world we live in, and the fact that you and him are just beating up the Usos in the living room while watching Yoko. And as a child,
Yeah.
as a child, I'm watching Yoko too. No idea he's Samoan. And I think years went by, like years and years and years, and the internet appears, and suddenly you're on like AOL chats and whatever. And I didn't even know until years after. Like, did you know Yoko is Samoan? I'm like, wait,
Yep.
what? And
That's
like
everyone's like, wait, what?
that would have happened if that happened in today's world. There's too much information out there to be like, wait a minute. So you're telling me he's Japanese, but he's clearly Samoan. I can go look up his lineage online right now. Like they would never do that now.
Right.
But then it was like, so we're gonna say you're Japanese. You cool with this? Like he's probably the same. He's probably the same thing. Like I guess.
Yeah. Hey, whatever works. Whatever works. Whatever you want to do. Whatever takes us to the bank.
I guess so because you watch there's a Yokozuna documentary on Peacock, and you can watch it, and there's footage of when he wasn't Yokozuna, when he
Yeah.
was, hey, he's a Samoan wrestler out there
He
doing,
was. He was.
and
So when they first went up, there were supposed to be three head shrinkers. He was the third one. So everything changes, and it changed, I think, because of Sergeant Slaughter or someone like that they just came up with the whole sumo wrestler gimmick, and it kind of just took off from there.
Well, it worked out for him.
Oh yeah.
Won the he make his debut in late '92, world champion by early '93. That's
Hey,
not
we ended
bad.
Hulkamania.
Yes, you
We
did.
ended we ended Hulkamania. If you really think about
Actually,
that one.
actually, a cameraman that has his camera explode ended Hulkamania, if you remember.
we we hit him with the leg drop though.
That's true. That's true.
We finished him with the leg drop though.
So let me throw this story at you then. WrestleMania 9, you're probably sitting there watching it. You know, maybe I don't know if you're there or you're at a house watching WrestleMania 9, and Yokozuna beats Bret Hart. And everyone's like, you know, maybe your house, you're probably like, yeah,
Going crazy.
whoa. And then seconds later, Hogan comes out and pulls some shenanigans, and then he suddenly becomes world champion. I bet the cheers immediately went to, that guy was at my birthday, and now
Yeah.
he's uninvited to my
Instant heel
birthday.
turn. Instant heel turn within the family. It was just
Wow.
like, oh, you no good son of a bitch. How would you do that to us? My father helped train you. Like,
Yes.
it was like all those emotions running through a young kid.
Oh my God, I would have been. And the fact that you're Yoko's your relative, and then the fact that Hogan was at your birthday, and now here this is happening in front of your eyes. I would have. So you said you're born in '84, so WrestleMania 9, so you're probably like 10, maybe
Yep.
11.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine cups are being thrown at that TV.
Yeah, it was a wild time. WrestleMania 10, I was there. Um, yeah, I was at a lot of these. I wasn't at on the East Coast. I was at a lot of the East Coast ones. I didn't because of school and stuff like that. I didn't get a chance to go out to the Vegas one. Plus, no parents wants to bring their kids to Vegas.
No, especially in '93. Like,
You know?
they try to clean that place up, but still, when I go to Vegas, I still get people handing me little cards on it, and I look at the card and like, oh, this is for a hooker. Oh,
Hmm.
oh,
Yep.
I'm with my wife, but thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like,
But I walk one strip, I have a stack this big
how about it?
of cards for ladies, and I'm like, I'm not sure
Yep.
if this is legal, but I'm not going to call this number. But
No.
I'll keep these just in case,
Yeah, just in case.
just in case, just to see if it's real or not.
Pass them off to the next guy.
Hey, sir, with 5 children, would you like this? What? Get away from me, sir. He
Hell
might.
yeah.
He might. Though, so you when you come in to the WE as Manu, you come in
Hmm.
and you immediately make an impact. You immediately get thrown with Randy Orton, which has got to be a great experience because Randy Orton, still young at the time,
Hmm.
but yet he was an evolution. He was taught by Triple H, Ric Flair, and Batista learned underneath that tree as well. So, what is that situation like? Are you is Randy Orton giving you advice? Because I imagine you guys are kind of the same age.
Yeah, yeah. Randy's a little bit older than me. But yeah, it was really cool just to have him involved. Just because we knew with him being involved, we were gonna get better segments. He's a former world champion and all this stuff. So that was really helped. That really helped. But Randy, he was cool. It was kind of like follow my lead, kind of lead by example. That's how he was. Um, but yeah, it was a great time to be with those guys.
Yeah, and it's again, Cody Rhodes now is like the second biggest wrestler in the world besides Roman Reigns, I guess, if you want to go with that. But then Ted DiBiase, unfortunately, is involved with some sticky situations, and then
Yeah,
don't don't
like
don't
life
do bad
happens to
things.
everybody.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, bad things happen to people who do bad things, and sometimes
Yeah,
bad things
for
happen to
sure.
good people. But I'm not in that situation, and we're not talking about
Nope.
that situation. Um, though eventually, though, I think you have a pretty good run, but then you're kicked out of Legacy. You're kicked
Mm.
out of the group. And again, what is the concept? Are you asking questions? Are you like, why am I being kicked out?
Yeah. So at that time when I got kicked out of the group, it was me and Snuka got kicked out. And the initial idea was we were supposed to get repackaged as a team, me and Snuka, and we were supposed to come back as baby faces to work Ted and Cody.
Okay.
So that was the idea when we got sent home. And it just never happened. Just never
Because
happened.
you're released in February of 2009. So
Yeah.
you came in and Unforgiven in 2008. I think that's like October of '08. '09. You're out.
Yeah.
What's the excuse?
Yeah. So I was told I wasn't aggressive enough. Um, Total like kicking the nuts to me because I was insane at that time. They had to tone me down. I was doing too much on house shows and stuff like that, and they were just like, "Hey, kid, you gotta settle down, settle down, settle down." So I would settle down until they didn't say anything, and then when they did stop saying stuff, I guess I settled down too much. It was never. It was a hard balance to figure out what they truly wanted to what I'm supposed to give them.
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, when you have one person saying you're too aggressive, now you're being too light.
Yeah,
You're like, I did what you told me to do, and I am still somehow wrong in this situation.
yeah.
Uh,
That's wrestling. It's just the way the beast crumbles sometimes. And if I would go back, I would do things a little differently. I think I would do it a little differently now. 25 years later, with all this knowledge, yeah, I would do it a little different.
yeah, probably all of us would do a little something different if we knew the future. I'm wondering though, do you think they were comparing you heavily to past Simones or Umaga or things like that, expecting you to produce exactly like that, or they were like, "Oh, you're too
I
light."
was I was in a weird position because Umaga was still on contract. He was just on SmackDown. They were doing the Raw and SmackDown branded thing. I was on Raw. He was on SmackDown. I spoke English. He was more of a traditional wild Samoan. I wore boots. I talked. He didn't.
Hmm.
Whenever I would get tagged in the ring, if we would be overseas and stuff like that, the whole place would start chanting Umaga and stuff. So I thought naturally that the the best idea would be to put me with him. However, again, that never happened. And yeah, it's just I was that weird crossover Samoan, the one that talked, the one that kind of, hey, hey, he's talking. Like, hey, look at this crazy. The Samoan's talking, and
Yeah,
that was me. And then now they all talk. So
yeah,
who
interesting,
knows? You know?
interesting. Yeah, pretty much I was in shock because I think we talked about this off camera, but I reached out to you maybe like 6 months ago because I was a big proponent and big supporter of Manu. Like I was so shocked as a viewer of watching a television program and seeing a character that clearly was supposed to do more, but suddenly was like ripped out of Legacy, which to me made no sense because Manu I thought was a better fit than Ted DiBiase, and I don't
Manu had all the handcuffs on and couldn't do nothing out there.
because like that's the thing to me was like, okay, you have two crisp young good looking little wrestlers, but then you have the powerhouse, the Manu, like
Right,
the guy who's going to go out there and destroy people, unleash the Kraken, unleash the
right,
monster.
right.
And Randy Orton had the keys, and yet they never, it felt like it was like a car trying to move forward with the brakes on. Like
Yeah,
it's like, how can you move forward and go fast if the emergency brakes are on? It
yep.
can't. It won't be possible. At least that's how I feel, and that's why I'm so happy just to talk to you right now about it. Because to me, there's a lot of people who are always like, why? Why this happen to Manu? Like, why this
Yeah.
happened to you? But hey, man. But again, it has been a pleasure talking to you today about your family, the legacy, everything above and beyond. Manu for life.
My man.
Just want to
Thank you,
say,
brother.
the big
Thanks for
puffy
having
hair,
me.
loved it all. So I've been Seafall. He's Manu. No, Afa Jr. Have a great
Yeah,
day,
Alpha
and we
Junior,
will
baby.
see you next time. Bye
And we'll see
bye.
you at the battlefield.
I like it.